Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the quick intermission there. It's really excited to put those videos together to see all the captains and players' different perspectives to their victories and to give a little bit more insight to what this season has meant for them. I was really happy with how it turned out and all the little hilarious bits that happened throughout all of those videos. So we're really glad to have featured all the division winners here on some capacity, despite the fact we also obviously had the interview with Coastal Squid Surf previously. So welcome back to the podcast. We're on the back half of the episode. I know it's already almost been 2 hours, but hear us out. So kind of a recap of what's going to happen next. We're getting a little bit more experimental what we're going to be talking about and talking more about Season 4 as a whole. We're going to kind of start with some quick recaps of the divisions and the notable storylines that happened in them. And then we're going to be talking more about my, Snow's, and DRF's kind of favorite moments from this entire season. Top threes, we have paper plate awards to kind of pitch these wacky awards for some of the teams. And then we're going to get to the moment y'all been waiting for, the all division reveal right at the end. So we're looking forward to it, and let's just jump right into it. When I forgot to tell Omazin that I was going to get ready to share my screen here. So, oh boy, scuff. So I'm just going to give him a second when I get this stuff live. So, starting with kind of talking about some of this unique storylines that happened in Division 6. As you kind of talked about, Division 6 has always been this shot in the dark, right? It's very unpredictable being at this level of collegiate Splatoon, as you had a lot of these newer teams that are literally playing competitive Splatoon for the first time. That being said, there's such a lot of good quality and high stakes matches and teams throughout this entire division this season. Some that immediately come to mind would be Sun God Squad and Table Troop Troupe, and I believe it was Group 2. I might be a little bit wrong there. Having this kind of epic storyline of destined to mean that Week 5 match C goes on to playoffs. And then VCU's Priority versus DPU Anarcho-Ciliism having a very pivotal match later on the season, both being kind of lower divisions from well-established collegiate programs wanting to prove themselves. And always with newer teams to players and teams to collegiate, you have some of the best and wackiest weapon comps ever played in the collegiate scene, and it's always fascinating to watch them and see how they work and such. I know one of DRF's favorite moments in matches this season has been that U of A Axion Splatters versus Grizzco Gators Week 5 match, which has had some insane weapon comps that both the teams honestly made work. So we love Division 6 here. It's kind of the testing ground for the next generation of collegiate Splatoon, and we're very happy with how this Division 6 this season has turned about. Then I just realized that I'm also doing Division 5, so let's get to that. Division 5. As I had said earlier, Division 5 has honestly been one of my favorites to watch progress this season because there's so many debut CCA teams here and a lot of teams that are making their mark on the collegiate scene. Then there's just so much to talk about with how they have interacted too, each group kind of having their own mini storylines throughout the season. Group A, you have such a fascinating, I believe, group-wide circle of sucks happening. When High Rollers ended up forfeiting a game, which, still had them the first seed whipped by 4-1. And there was just all this confusion throughout that group the entire time. With Group B, you had this storyline of Crimson Inc. literally having a perfect regular season run, going 5-0 in matches and 20-0 in games. So a lot of good stuff from them. And then you also have this idea of Clark Corey kind of jumping back from being on the back burner for a lot of that regular season, coming back. For these other groups too, you have a lot of these kind of newly forming collegiate powers starting to kind of take the first steps in their collegiate runs. Bull Sharks, Union Splatoon, Taos and Tigerfish, High Rollers. I would bet some money that these are names in players and teams that we're going to see tear it up in the upper divisions in seasons to come. That's why I think Division 5 has just been such a wonderful time this season. It has brought so many unique moments and lasting storylines to the entire division. So moving on, Snow, would you like to talk about Division 4?
Yes, Div 4. Oh, quite a doozy. So I feel like a lot of us thought that Vespa from I think it's Virginia Tech, they were going to be the front runners because they were joined by Novaden, a former Div 1 player from VCU in Black. But and yeah, they performed well, going. I believe they went 5-0 in their group. But so did UCSD Navy, also showing that they are another force to be reckoned with. And both the other, I guess, like top seeds of the groups, Splatlanders and Seminole Cephalopods. I mean, they said no, we're better, and ended up being the finalists after, of course, Seminole Cephalopods won. This division was also really interesting because of the tiebreakers, showing how evenly matched it was. There was the most tiebreakers of any division because there were 5 of them, and one of them was a 3-way tiebreaker, which are always fun. And 2 of them were actually for making or break it for playoffs. One of those interesting, Grizz Taco starting off the season with 3 straight 4-0s and missing the playoffs because they lost to Stu, who started 1-2. It's crazy how these things work out. And speaking of Stu, um, Purdue University, a classic CCA staple, sent both Stu and Bash to playoffs this semester, which was very impressive. That 2 teams from the same school in the same division makes playoffs. Second time in CC history it's ever happened.
Yes, Division 4 was quite a great division to watch. DRF, would you like to take it to Division 3?
Certainly. Yeah, Division 3, there was a lot going on here. Playoffs from this season, but kind of just talking about the teams as a whole. Creamed Corn. How can Creamed Corn in Season 4 recap? Creamed Corn comes into the season with one of the just all-time entrances to the CCA with that now infamous that really launched them into the spotlight of this is going to be a team to watch. That's for sure. For one reason, they're going to be one to keep an eye out for, and they have certainly delivered all season long. It's a really fun personality team, and they are very, very proud to be from University of Nebraska Lincoln. And I mean, I don't know. I'm expecting more shenanigans from them in the future. But other really interesting storylines from this as well. Like WPI emerged as an early favorite and proved it all season long. At first there was kind of a doubt of like, hey, is this WPI team really the same with the couple of graduations that they had? And they said, yeah, we are. We might even be better. So WPI just quickly emerged as a favorite and proved it every step of the way. But overall though, this division was really close. Pretty much every team won a set except for 2 teams. And on top of that, we almost had a 4. Like we made the big spreadsheet chart thing to analyze, who's gonna make the, and every match that was played, like we narrowed the scenarios bit by bit until there was basically like 2 scenarios left. And it was either WPI makes the playoffs or we get Doomsday. And that was like, all staff was looking at that like, we're in danger. So super, super fun though. Luckily we avoided as upon WPI's game 2 victory over Hofstra. So fun overall though.
Moving on to Div 2. As you guys know, it's my favorite division. So starting off with Group A, we got the H-Town Rebels from Houston, showing that now that we have Dio, the CCA arms race is continuing, and we're a force to be reckoned with. You can't forget about us. But then Group 2 was really crazy. I remember the staff were all looking at this one pretty attentively as well. I think there was like 5 teams that were like eligible for playoffs. And eventually it ended up being a 3-way tiebreaker between IBC, OUA, and California Rollers, which eventually IBC Diamond Rays ended up taking that second seed. In Group 3 was also crazy. My personal favorite for Div 2, Springfield, Ohio, and the Husky Splatsville Knights, both losing really tight Game 7s to CSU LB Gold. one of those new coming teams who ended up going 5-0, sweeping that group, so which was very impressive to beat those two strong veteran teams. And then finally in Group 4, I mean, Coastal Squid Surf, as we just saw, just swept through the competition. I think most games they lost in a set was 2 to wee aquatic little creatures. So they're definitely showing that they probably could have been in Div 1. Twitch, I'm going to quote Shaq and say, I apologize. I really didn't know your game that well. I think I definitely underestimated them, but they've proved more than proven themselves, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And speaking of Division 1, let's go ahead and wrap up our top storylines from Div 1. Again, the most fun Division 1 regular season in CCA history, in opinion. 8 Game 7s that changed everything. 4 within each group. And I mean, other than, the top teams in each group, MSU Aries and PSU Blue, the rest of the groups were open, wide open. I think Comet Blasters and Wormwind got eliminated from playoff contention early on, but the other 4 teams, we were watching game by game because every game mattered. Not even every set, every game mattered. We saw UCSD showing why they continue to be one of the most clutch teams in CCA history, winning 2 very decisive Game 7s to punch their tickets to the playoffs, although they needed a little bit of help, VCU Ink Black. So they had to tip their hats to them for buying them their ticket. But the VCU growth arc continued. It reached new heights with the biggest reschedule week of all time, pulling up massive sets against Old Bay Brigade and the Night Sharks. They needed to win both. They got both to punch their ticket to the playoffs. So absolutely crazy group. And that's just Group 1 there. I mean, in Group 2, we saw Banana Split did not miss a step despite back-to-back Game 7s as well in Weeks 1 and Week 2. The reigning champion said, we are not going to go down that easy, despite really being taken to the brink by, I believe, Reef Unleashed Gold and Reef Runners. So 2 teams that had phenomenal seasons but just barely missed the playoffs. And then, of course, who can forget the Group 2 spreadsheet? That you know a group is good when Krakenmayer has to come in and use Discord Nitro and send multiple messages analyzing the playoff scenarios for Red Embers, Reef Unleashed Gold, and Reef Runners going into the final 4 sets of the season. Like, that was absolutely crazy. Red Embers having a season that may just never be replicated again. And of course, lastly, the MSU PSU collision course was a lot more fun than we anticipated. It just went about a way that we didn't anticipate. We were waiting for this Game 9 showdown, but the playoffs played out just in such an exciting and unpredictable way. It just was so much fun.
I actually prefer it that way.
Division 1, some fascinating storylines there, and a lot of things to go off of for future CCA. I do want to make one correction for what you said, DRF. I do think Thunderbirds still hold the craziest reschedule week award in CCA history, but I digress.
Fair.
There's been so much content that's been covered this season, and so many notable teams, events, and happenings. And it's odd to think that it's all wrapped up at this point. But season 4 is definitely a season for the books. And like I said kind of earlier in some of my statements, I think you're going to see a lot of these, these moments, these glimpses into these teams kind of pay back dividends later in later seasons and later CCA events. So a fantastic start to the 23-24 CCA academic year for these teams. So we now want to switch into something a little bit more speculation discussion based. Basically, the 3 of us have prepared our top 3 lists of a few different categories, and we wanted to kind of talk about them and talk about some of the highlights from the season. I think we wanted to first start with talking about a very common one, that being the top, some of our personal top 3 matches and sets that have occurred throughout season 4. Before we even get into that, I wanted to ask you and you two, DRF and Snow, for what exactly makes a great and memorable set for you personally.
Okay, I guess I'll start. For me, what makes a great and memorable set are great and memorable plays. If they're all there needs to be, okay, let's be honest, the whole thing can be a snooze fest. If one player pops off on stream and gets insane kills, insane streak, I'm happy, and that's gonna be one of my favorite matches.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's a close battle, just back and forth. If it has to be a tight set in order for it to be truly memorable, or you need a game that is defining to the whole set. I think back to the Division 6 semifinals, I believe, between Nautical and Wet Cod Empire. And I believe that was relatively one-sided, but you have a crazy game like Scorch Gorge Rainmaker, where Kyon and I are screaming at the top of our lungs. That's a game defining. That game really defined that set, and it was just so much fun. That's what makes it memorable. So it can be a mix of a lot of things. One, I have to be there. And two, it has to be something is close, something is back and forth. It comes down to the wire.
Mm-hmm. I think for me personally, it's a factor of two things. One is the storylines of the teams going into the match. Not even just like history between the teams, but what are the storylines that's following them through the season, that's following the reputation in CC history. And my other bit would be adaptation. How are these teams adapting to each other? How are they figuring out this puzzle of a match to play against each other, and who's kind of coming on top? So when I made my list, I thought a lot about these things and weighted these two options. And I'm assuming both of you thought about your own reasonings. So it's going to be very interesting to see our different perspectives kind of appear for these lists. I think I'll start us from the bottom, since I actually have... we're supposed to do top threes. I did top four. I had an honorable mention, just because I feel like the set goes a little bit unrepresented in some of the larger scape, and I think it's really interesting and memorable. So I wanted to quickly highlight the Div 3 semifinals match between, quarterfinals match between Death Roll and Creamed Corn. This came after a fantastic interview we had with Creamed Corn the week prior, which talked a lot about their regular season run and their thoughts leading into this match. And it was honestly kind of a sight to behold. CCA unfortunately did not stream this match, but one of our staff members, Wolf, did, and we were very glad that they were able to, as it was a very back and forth match between these two. Death Roll were the favorites going in. They won in the end of the day. However, Creamed Corn did not go down without a fight and brought some insane comps and strategy and insane plays to their game. I think the two things that the game specifically that I'm thinking of was their TC Humpback game, when they brought in a Kraken roller that just ate the entire team of Death Roll. Death Roll was able to adapt from that match to continue to push on further into the division. But I think that stands as kind of a key moment for Creamed Corn. They got out round one, but they still have so much raw, untamed potential, and I think it's going to be fascinating for them going forward. So I really wanted to highlight this match because I do think it's important for the storyline of the season.
All right.
So, I guess we should start at number 3 and work our way up. DRF, what do you have for your third pick here?
Okay, Krona, I also cheated. I added a fourth.
Damn it.
So my honorable mention is actually going to be Sun God Squad versus Tabletop Troop. This was a Division 6 matchup that determined the final playoff spot in Group 2. And it delivered on every single level. Like, whoever said that a Division 6 CCA match can't be exciting is wrong. Because this is the exact match I would show them. Because Sun God Squad goes down 0-3, wins the next 3 games in dominant fashion. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And then at the very end, they fall just a little bit short. Tabletop Troop punches their ticket to the playoffs. It was so much fun. Like, this was an absolutely crazy set. And it remains one of my favorites. You can say UCSD bias all you want, but that is definitely one to watch out for. But my number 3 my actual number 3, give me Red Embers versus Reef Unleashed Gold during reschedule week to determine the final playoff spot in Division 1. This was a win or go home situation for both teams. And this went the full distance, 7 games, constant back and forth. Every single game was close. I think we had analyzed that in episode 6 or something like that of the podcast. And I think we had said that the biggest lead that anyone had was like 40 points. Like all the games were within 40 points. Like it was close from start to finish. And of course, as a result of that, you get Red Embers making the playoffs with that 2-3 record. Reef Unleashed Gold, if they had won that, they would have been 3-2, but end up, losing to Red Embers. They both were 2-3 tiebreakers. Red Embers makes it. That's it. Like that was so much fun. The stakes could not have been higher, and you get some phenomenal storylines out of it.
Let me chime in on that one because I feel like I want to add on my third place match on top of that. Be careful, be ready. You're not gonna expect this one. My number 3, I have Reef Unleashed Gold versus Red Embers in the rescheduled match. I mean, it's like Dr. F said. I mean, you win, you're in. That's hype. Game 7, that's hype. Like, what's not to like? And I kind of had reasons for wanting to play both these teams, right? So I kind of won either way. I wanted to play Reef Unleashed Gold because we played them 3 times entrance exam. I want to play Red Embers because we played them like twice already, and I kind of know Krona. But you know me, I like my hype plays, and when Red Embers was down 0-2 with their backs to the wall, losing game 3 on Flounder Tower, Zolo decides to go insane, get like 8 kills in a row, and just pull them to that victory. And I think that's what gave them motivation, the morale boost to end up winning that set overall.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be the odd one out and say that was not my third place match. My the match I have for my third position here is the Division 2 Grand Final match between Coastal Squid Surf and Carne Exotic Fries. We've talked about this match already this episode, but just such amazing storylines going into this match. Both having both these teams be runner-ups from the previous season, and both having these dominant runs in regular season. Again, you also have this back and forth puzzle for both these teams to figure out and to learn and adapt to. How do you deal with Carne's Splash? How do you deal with Coastal Squid Surf's Bucket? It was just a fascinating brawl to watch, and probably my favorite division grand final match from the season. And I have it here as my number 3rd. So, moving on, Snow, would you like to go for number 2?
Okay, my number 2, and I think this is also going to be a one that's unique. No one else is going to say this. We have LG Nightfall versus H-Town Rebels, which was the quarterfinals match in Div 2 playoffs. And this is one of the first playoff games that I watched live, and it made a really good impression. And because again, there were so many great individual plays going on. I remember like T was holding down the floor of the back line. Dio was just getting so many picks in that machine. Moto Syria was hitting insane shots with the Zuka. Like it was just like really fast aggro gameplay which is obviously what I like the most. Mm-hmm. So and that went to game 9 too. And even though the team I was rooting for ended up losing, it's like that was such an amazing set. Like I still enjoyed it.
No, I can agree with you, Stone. That's why I have it for my number 2 too. My God, what a way to start the Division 2 playoffs with this absolutely dominant set between these two teams. I went back to the stats channel and looked kind of at the screenshots. The highest point difference between these two teams the entire set was 1 game. They kept going back and forth the entire set. I mentioned this I think in a previous episode, but my absolute favorite moment during this set was the Splat Zones Manta. And I believe it was Nightfall that won it. And they basically had to stall the zones for 20 seconds with a 1-point difference for H-Town to get the win. Where if H-Town literally just painted like 60% of both zones, that would have been set for them. So an absolutely amazing Division 2 match, an amazing way to start the playoff bracket here. So DRF, please don't tell me you have H-Town Rebels and Nightfall for your second spot.
No, my number 2 is a little bit different, but I think we'll be discussing this one in further detail. But give me GMU Patriots versus Titans of Alterna Orange for my number 2 match of the season. This was the Division 3 semifinals. It went all 9 games. I had the absolute privilege and honor of commentating this one as well. And it was so much fun from start to finish. We see Cal State Fullerton's team go up 3-1 over George Mason. And it was just a continuous back and forth. I believe actually that what was it? Like it was really back and forth like the entire time. Like Cal State Fullerton started off really strong, but then GMU really won out on those back half, winning the last 4 out of 5 games. Like from game 5 on, like it was all GMU. It was really a tale of 2 halves of that set. And it was just so much fun. I think that with this one, I can't even recall. I think there was a couple of knockouts.
Yes, there was.
Actually, yeah. So I believe Cal State Fullerton had 1 knockout, or sorry, 2 knockouts. It's 1 knockout and GMU had 2 knockouts. But otherwise, every other game in that set was more or less determined by maybe 15 points. Like it was absolutely crazy. And I think a couple of those even knockout games were come from behind victories.
Yes, no. Spoiler alert, that was my number 1. Div 3 bias, but my god, what an amazing set between these 2 teams. There's not much direct history between GMU and Titans, but each had a very unique storyline going into this. For GMU, it was this storyline of pushing as far as you can go. They have had such a wonderful season and dominant force in Group 1, and they found themselves here in the playoffs with a strong seed going in. So they really wanted to see how far they can go. And for Titans, it was kind of redemption. Because fun fact about Titans of Alterna, they skipped season 3. So they played in season 2 where they got to playoffs in Div 3 again. So this was kind of their comeback season to kind of, get back in the collegiate scene, get back into the know of things. So you had this very unique storyline between these 2, and what a unique match. Titans, I believe, going up like 3-1 at the start, with GMU just switching Deduce from ballpoint to V-shot and just matching their aggression and shutting down Lagoon's brush and their double roller comp from Titans. So it absolutely insane, and probably, I think, one of the best matches Div 3 has to offer, if not the entire CCA.
I'm feeling kind of, I guess, out of place here because I never watched this match. Like, man, you check it out. It was that good. But, my first place was Coastal Squidser versus Carne Exotic Fries, the Div 2 final. I think it was you, Krona, who said it was your third favorite match. I think it's the best.
Okay.
I just feel like this was the best showcase of individual skill of any CCA match that I've ever seen. Like, I mean, I remember watching PG and Magic just getting play after play, and as it all CSS, of course, they won, and more importantly, got like 4 triples or quads on stream. And if that's what they were doing on stream, imagine what they were doing when the player cam was not on them. Like that, I legit think this is one of the most just impressive matches I've ever seen, and that's why it's my favorite match of this season.
Well, I will give you both the only truly unique choice of anybody's lists here. UCSD bias be damned. Give me UCSD versus VCU Ink Black as the top match of the season. And it's not even close. And the reason why this is not going to get mentioned by anybody else is because nobody's seen this match. This match was never streamed. The only reason that I know that this match was as good as it was is because I had to ask for replay codes. And I was like, I really need to see how this one panned out. I got the replay codes, I put them in the Switch, and I went and recorded the individual games, knowing the result. My heart was pounding the entire way through. It is that good of a set. And it's one of those that once I can get around to it, I need to publish the set because I think other folks will agree that it is the match of the season. The stakes obviously were not there because this was a week 1 matchup, but it was still by far the most exciting set of the season. VC Week Black going up 3-1 for UCSD to come from behind and win. And they came from behind in those last couple of games as well. They were on the brink of losing, in games 5, 6, and 7. And they somehow pulled it off with the cherry on top of that Rainmaker squid roll to survive the Zuka that was inches, centimeters, micrometers away from ruining the come from behind victory. And that is my favorite clip of the season. Like I said, UCSD bias be damned on this one. It is such a phenomenal set objectively. Like, everyone needs to see this whenever we get that video out.
I know, it's crazy to think that was a week 1 match. That happened, what, like 2.5 months ago or something like that? It's just crazy. We had the opportunity to talk to VCU about that match specifically a couple weeks back when we interviewed them, and it was, even just hearing them talk about it in retrospect and such, what a fantastic match, and definitely get that recorded for CCA history here at DRF. So yeah, a lot of great matches have happened this season. Obviously, you saw some commonalities between our lists, but there's so many other matches that were so impactful and really high-staked and beautiful and fantastic, and I'm just listing synonyms right now. So I'm going to pass the mic on to Snow to lead us into our next list.
Oh, hi. DRF, I think first of all, that feels kind of unfair, to say that match and we couldn't even watch it, But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. It was the CCA again this season grew even more to 130 teams. It was an insane amount. So with all these new teams, now I gotta ask, what were our top 3 debut seasons? Did I say that right? Debut seasons. And to qualify that, what makes a great debut season in your eyes?
I can start for that one. I think for me, it's both like having impressive results and skill, but also having that raw potential to go far. Even if you don't make playoffs or don't make it that far, just showing that your program has merit to it, show it that like you have the pieces to be fit together at a later time is critical in this regard. And I think that's kind of what you'll see in some of my picks. That like some of these teams didn't get too far in bracket and such, but they are going to be absolutely devious creatures coming in the future seasons. What about you, DRF?
Yeah, for me, what makes a great debut season is one, just an overall impact on the community, and really making a splash, like making it known that, hey, we are here and we are ready to play. So yes, it's a mix of results, but also, the uniqueness of the storylines that you bring to the community. So that's what's going to make a great debut season for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think making a splash is the most important part. So, since you said that, DRF, let me ask you. So, what do you think well, I guess we'll start from the bottom. What was your third, your number 3 best debut season?
My number 3 best debut season goes to Red Embers out of Illinois State University. So, for context, this is not Illinois State's first team in the CCA. They have Red Beacon that participated in Division 5 last season and Division 3 this season. But Red Embers is the new team made up of a bunch of players that I believe are all low ink band. And they were ready to make some noise. They came out, guns blazing. There was kind of a fair bit of chirping going on from behind the scenes from what I've heard from this squad. And it was an absolute roller coaster following this team. It was kind of like, oh, like this team's really good. Oh man, like what is happening? Like this is not what we expected out of them to, oh man, what a redemption arc. Roller coaster of emotions following this squad. And it was just really, really fun. Even if they beat UCSD Esports Gold, they have commanded a lot of respect this season, and I'm so excited to see the new heights that they will fly to next season.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, DRF. In fact, I quite literally that's not an exaggeration because my number three is also Red Embers, come from Illinois State University. Um, but yeah, um, I mean, DRF said pretty much everything that I had as well. It is almost completely a new roster, but you know they showed off an entrance exam, getting the second seed in their group, and disappointed a bit in the regular season. I thought they were okay; they're a bit washed. But then during playoffs, they showed up and they were kicking my butt for a bit. So and they ended up getting third. So like I mean that's really that's a great debut season. Your first season CC and you get third. Like who can ask for more than that?
No, I don't have Red Embers on my list, but I definitely could see why you two would want them. So sorry, Snow. What a splash they made in entry exam. I think that and then PSU's just complete dominance of that tournament were the two key takeaways. This battle between the blue and the red, yada yada yada. And like you said, sure, the regular season, wasn't fantastic. Going 2-3, getting into playoffs is definitely scuffed. But once they were there, they made waves. They took PSU to game 8, and they didn't sweep, but they had very very strong games against Banana Split. So for a team that's mainly comprised of newer players here in the CCA, well, not newer players in general, a lot of them have a lot of comp experience already. But for their first time here in a collegiate setting, and to see them so enthralled and excited to be here, it's really thrilling. And I think we're all excited to go see how they'll do in the future. I'll lead into my third pick, and it's a team that we kind of already have covered already. That is the lovely Creamed Corn. From the article to hashtag Creamer Nation to being the only new team in the Division 3 playoffs to their podcast interview. Creamed Corn has just made waves here in the CCA this season, and it's been so enthralling and exciting to watch it all unfold. Going back to some of the stuff they said in their interview, having Drywall's story of wanting to form a team, finding the people, the manpower here, and just have it explode. They have such a deep roster with so many good and established players that it's going to be very exciting to see what they can do for the future here. I wouldn't be shocked to see them make a rerun Division 3 and get all the way further into the bracket. The sky's the limit for Creamed Corn, and I definitely think we're going to be saying Creamer Nation for a few seasons to come at this point. So, DRF, perfect timing. Would you like to tell us about your second place pick?
Absolutely. Apologies there. Had to go handle something real quick because longest episode of the podcast by far. But yes, your number 3 matches my number 2, Krona. It is Creamed Corn. I mean, with an entrance like they had with the article and then delivering, both on and off the game, that how do you match that? I think you probably already hit everything that I could possibly say about Creamed Corn. So Creamer Nation, as much as I hate the hashtag, I'm with you. It's been such a fun team to get to know in their first season. So it's one of those things that it's going to be really hard to top the type of debut that they had.
And I'm so sorry to break the chain of consecutive picks, but unfortunately, my number 2 is not going to match yours. I got MSU Aries at my number 2 pick, and I think the main reason for this is the surprise factor to me, because they didn't play entrance exam and they come in and just take the number 1 seed. That's crazy. No one expected that. So and then some people are a bit skeptical naturally, but then they back it up by just sweeping through the division. I mean, it was just a domination. So that's why they're my number 2 for the number 2 best debut season.
No. DRF, do you want to comment on that or go to your next pick?
We can go to my number one. Did you do your number two, Krona?
No, but I want you to do your number one first.
All right, that's fair. So my number one is Cal State Long Beach Gold in Division 2. They were phenomenal. I don't think that there's any words that can properly describe the way that this team came in and delivered from game number one. We didn't really know what to expect from these folks, and they really quickly pieced together and took on some of the biggest, baddest teams in the CCA and just immediately hit a stride like they were one of the veterans. They steal this group, the group title, I guess, if you want to put it that way, from Springfield, Ohio, and the Husky Splattsville Knights. You can't have a much better debut season than coming in with no expectations and suddenly becoming one of the front runners in your division.
Yes, no, I wanted you to say that one because that's my number 2 pick. God, Cal State Long Beach has been such a fantastic team to watch develop this season. And it's honestly one of my biggest pride moments for director of podcast or whatever. Is that we got them, like they were our second interview. We got to talk to them so early in the season to hear their story and their expectations of the season. I think the fact that they took 3 Division I veteran teams, that being MSU Camp Juice, Springfield, Ohio, and Husky Splattsville Knights, to game 7s and won all 3 of those matches is just insane. They're the reason that Springfield, Ohio had to play Carnegie Sodas in round 1 of Division II playoff, the Division II playoff bracket. They're just insane to already talk about and to have such a presence here. And yes, they did falter to IBC in the first round of the bracket, but I think just the impact they've already had on their division and the CCA as a whole is just incredible, and I'm expecting great things for them in the following seasons.
I think, I'm getting confused. You got a little bit out of order here, but I'm going to move on to my number 1 pick, which is UNM, University of New Mexico Splatoon. And because, like I said, I like teams that make a splash, and they did do that by winning Div 5 as a brand new university to CCA. But more importantly, I love seeing players who try out competitive for the first time and they make a name for themselves. And that's awesome. And I hope that's going to motivate them to keep improving future seasons. Yeah. And go UNM.
Yes, no, a fantastic team. I technically have them in my number 1 position, although I have them tied with about, 67% of the other rest of the Division 5 teams. Because, again, Division 5 has had such a breakout of brand new teams here in the CCA. Teams like the High Rollers, Champlain Splatoon Cerulean, Taoisean Tigerfish, Bull Sharks, and UNM Splatoon have been such interesting forces to watch develop here in Division 5. And I think it's going to be fascinating to watch all these teams progress as the seasons go on and the collegiate scene gets larger and more deeper than before. So, a little bit of a cop-out answer with having so many teams tied for the same position. But in my mind, it's this collective of teams that's going to be so interesting to watch in future seasons. So,
absolutely.
Ooh, so that is the end of our shared top 3s, and each of us have prepared a side top 3 that we want to pitch to each other. DRF, consider the fact that you have 2. I'm going to let you start here.
Yeah, and I'll go quick because, again, we're going to push 3 hours on the podcast. And I think we all have that we intended to do nights. But anyways, so let me start with my top 3 most improved or redemption teams. So first of all, let me pitch to you guys this. So top 3 redemption teams here. First of all, honorable mention, Coastal Squid Surf. I mean, you go from runner-up in Division 5 to winning Division 2. You can't really have much better of a run of that. But I wanted to think a little bit more outside the box. So for my number 3, give me Splatoon Gold. I said this earlier in the podcast. This is one of my favorite teams to follow because they have just had such a interesting journey. They've overcome a lot of obstacles from the past couple of seasons. They really struggle to hang with the divisions and the groups that they were in. And come this season, we see them not only, start to win crucial matches, they make the stinking top 4 in Division 6. Like, come on. Like, that is one of the best growth arcs that I've seen. It seems like they have finally figured out what is going to click for them, and they are contending with a lot of similar level teams. So huge shout out to Splatoon Gold. I mean, what a comeback here from the first 2 seasons that I know you really wish you could have performed a bit better to the top 4. Like, but then continuing on my list, number 2, give me the Splatlanders from New Jersey Institute of Technology. They have had 2 seasons with their captain Fishy, just ultimately never really found their stride. I believe going 1-4 in their first season in Division 2 to 2-3 in, was it Division 3 or Division 4? I think it was Division 4. Yeah, in the following season. And then running it back in Division 4 and making it to the finals without their captain that led them the first 2 seasons. Like, how do you piece that together? Like, we had a great opportunity to talk to them about that. And it really felt like that they had recruited just the right exact people that they needed to fill the holes in their roster. Come on, give it to the Splatlanders at number 2.
Definitely.
And then my number 1 redemption of the season, give me the GMU Patriots. And this one is not even close. The GMU Patriots in Division 3 of last season went 0-5. And they won a grand total of, 6 games. They went 0-5 and won 6 games in Division 3. And they come back and dominate their group. They will go 4-1. They win the tiebreaker. And then on top of that, make it all the way to the grand finals, have 2 of the best sets that we have seen in that division and this whole season. And then take 2 games off of the eventual champions WPI. That is a redemption arc if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I completely agree with your list there. Laying all of your justifications there. All those teams have had such amazing runs and redemptions. Splatlanders, amazing. Fascinating, great to talk to them, want to splat, and such. And GMU, again, I talked a little bit this about in the Division 3 segment earlier, but my God, they have such great momentum and such ferocity. I think they're going to come back swinging next season. I'm so excited to watch what happens. I'll be the next one to talk for this, my top 3, and it's a little bit more comedical in nature. That being the top 3 league help desk moments that we staff had the lovely time of dealing with. Don't worry, I'm not calling anyone out specifically, but I will start with the infamous "Please don't ping staff for any reason." Shoutouts if you added the staff role specifically. Y'all are definitely something. But yes, please don't do that. We have other stuff to attend to from time to time, and usually there's there'll be someone there eventually. Please don't ping staff. So my next one is notifying staff that they screwed up on a score input, which is completely fair and valid to do. I put it here because 80% of the time it was me who was screwing up the score input at the beginning of the season. So every time I saw one, I'm like, oh God, I did something wrong again. But tournament is definitely a platform that exists, and it's a little bit difficult to TA on it from the start. But I'm happy to say that as the season went on, we had less help desk mentions of that. And then my number 1 league help desk moments for this entire season was asking what VC drop-ins were for the for the stream request. For all of you who don't know, last season what we did is we had VC drop-ins when a producer would jump into a team's VC and then stream their VC to the stream, such that everybody could hear what they were saying, kind of get insight to what they were saying. And it was really funny to me that we included that on the stream request, and despite the fact we never used them this season, it never explained. So, again, none of these are really anyone's fault. I just think it's really funny having these leak help desk moments. You all definitely give us some gray hairs, but at the end of the day, it's always enjoyable.
I think I think Krona's going very easy on all of you guys. So be thankful for that. That's what you get for being good for Christmas. I'm gonna follow that up that amazing top three up with my top three streamed moments. Starting at number 3, I mentioned it before. I'm gonna mention it again. Quad on Undertow Rainmaker. I mean, like the CSS was or Carne Asada Fries had their back to the wall. CSS was pushing in, and Odd just runs forward and kills everyone. Like, who does that? That's insane. They're living in my head rent free. I can't escape. Number 2, we got star appearing in the Div 1 finals, aka Nitro. His one-hit wonder, and it really was a one-hit wonder because he showed up for one game and frankly hit some crucial picks. Our first push that went to 24 or 27 would never have happened. It would have stopped at like 50 if he didn't just keep on finding random kills. So I mean, it's just really funny to me. Walks in game 4 of Grands, plays an insane game, getting tons of crucial picks, refuses to elaborate, and leaves. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Number 1, the balls. I wasn't even there. I don't even know what happened, but I'm all here for it. And that is all I'm gonna say on the matter.
Oh my god! Do you have any Deballers in chat right now?
I need the ballers in chat.
Oh my
Y'all,
god!
y'all did it again.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh. I'm sorry. The Nitro bit was killing me too. The one-hit wonder comment really got to me as well.
And you really picked the 2 names that are just, how do you say this in just a casual setting, a casual sentence?
Oh my god. All right. For our final top 3 of the night, DRF, would you like to give us your second one?
Yeah, so my other top 3, I really couldn't pick what I wanted to cover. So I decided to just include both. So this one is top 3 matches lost to the void. So these were matches that, for one reason or another, we just didn't get a chance to watch. And as far as I am aware, there was really no stream for it for one reason or another. So my honorable mention here is just going to be any and all Game 7s that were not on stream. Game 7s are always so exciting, no matter how you put it. And I really wish that we could always get all these Game 7s. Unfortunately, it's just impossible. There are hundreds of matches being played. So it's just impossible to do it. So, hey, it is what it is. But number 3, give me specifically Night Sharks versus Old Bay Brigade. This was the first match of the season that I think we all collectively said, this is going to be a fun season. Like, it was so good just to look at the stats after and be like, the Old Bay Brigade really did this. They beat the Night Sharks. And I mean, it's kind of funny to also look back at it now that this was possibly such a season-defining set in week 1 that ultimately didn't really mean much because both teams missed the playoffs anyways. But it was such a tone setter for Division 1, and I think that's when we realized we're going to have a lot of fun. My number 2 matchup that I wish we would have had was Villanova versus Ink Raiders Bravo. This was the first match of the season, the first score inputted, and it was a Game 7. And I really wish we could have seen this because we got a chance to talk with Ink Raiders Bravo. We had that fantastic interview with them, and they gave us a lot of great insight. And I just wish we could have seen it as well, because that would have provided even more context instead of us having to look at the stats. So, I mean, I really wish that we could have got that very first game of the season, because I think that would have really brought the season in well. Back when we did season 2, the first match of the season that we streamed was a Game 7 as well. So just a lot of fun to be able to kick the season off with that. It took us quite a while to get a Game 7 on stream this season, and I really wish Villanova versus Ink Raiders Bravo could have been that set. And the last match, this is for a little bit of a different reason. My number one match lost to the Void, or I should say lost to Wi-Fi, is IVC Diamond Rays versus Carne Ink Sada Fries. For those that don't know, this match went to game, I think, 3 before IVC just lost internet. And they could not complete the match. It was tied 1-1. And unfortunately for IVC, they had to forfeit the last 3 games. So Carne Ink Sada Fries ultimately won that 4-1. And in a way, thankfully, both teams made the playoffs because we got to see more of them in action. That Wi-Fi moment didn't truly ruin a season, but it was really just insane to, kind of be like, this is, we had this one circled on the matchup list for the week. And we said, this is going to be the one to watch. This one's going to be fun. And just, it never happened. Like, it straight up did not happen. Luckily, they actually did have a show match recently. I did not quite get to see that one play out, but these two teams are going to continue to go back and forth, both from Southern California. We'll see a lot more for sure.
That was my number one heartbreak of the season when I looked in to see that one got forfeited. Both amazing teams, really strong history between them, facing off every time in the SoCal events too and such. But yeah, no, fantastic lists. And with that, we're done with the top 3 section. We have one more thing before we get to all division teams. We wanted to do a quick little paper plate award for a single team. For each of us I'm so sorry. Each of us wants to present a single paper plate award and have the other co-host kind of say which teams they would want to have this award. With the idea being kind of a little bit more impromptu and kind of talking a little bit about the justifications. So let's go to the order we have in the script, and let's have you start us off, DRF, again.
Yeah, sure. So my award that I want to see y'all is the unfinished business. So what teams, players, or storylines are you most excited to see unfold in the future, given that we've gotten just a little bit of a taste this season?
Yes. Do you want to go or me, Snow?
I think you should go first.
All right. I'll hit you with the Towson Tigerfish. Division 5, baby. Such an impactful regular season run, and they just fell a little bit short there in the quarterfinals of Division 5. I think, again, I've talked about the Division 5 so many times this episode, but my God, keep your eye on all of them. They're so interesting to watch. Please watch the lower divisions. And Towson Tigerfish, I think, are going to go far. They have such amazing players on their team. And I think this has been a great first season for them. Honorable mentions to H-Town Rebels and to all the Purdue teams that are going to just be back for more of these next few seasons after having a little bit of unfortunate quarterfinal matches as well. So, to you, Snow.
All right. So my pick for this category, I guess, was VCU Ink Black. It's Div 1 team. I mean, I'm gonna for the sake of a demonstration. Have you guys ever seen like a cube, like the curve of like x cubed? It goes like that. So IVC, no, I'm saying IVC. VCU already had their like, I guess, like explosive growth when they went like 6-0 at entry exam and like stormed in Div 1, and now, with them making playoffs after them having insanely clutch wins against the Night Sharks, one of the favorites, and Old Bay Brigade, another really strong team, I think that they're on their second upward trend right now, and I think that they're going to be, I mean, frankly, a dark horse for the next season. Like, they're going to have a real shot at the title.
Well, those are both fantastic picks for one reason or another. So I have a very specific pick here that might actually work better for different contexts, but I basically came up with this award because I think the team that I owe the biggest apology to this season is A-State Black. A-State Black came in as, and I think we can all agree, this was the hardest team to seed. The hardest team, because they basically came to us and said, hey, we all have play versus experience. We're all freshmen, and we're very new to the scene. We played play versus. I think most of them were like top 16 in their respective high schools. for whatever region that they played in. And we were like, that's awesome. Like, that's really cool. That's a big accomplishment. How do you translate that? So we said, hey, let's stick them in Division 3 and see what happens. Because they don't seem like a Division 5 or 6 team, but they sure as heck are not going to be able to hang with Div 1 or 2. So we said, let's give them benefit of the doubt. Let's see if they can hang with the Div 3 teams. They would agree that it was absolutely a struggle. It was not where they should have been in the first place. I think that now that we know what this means for them, like what this team is, what divisions they should be in, next season when we get them in the right spot, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, no, AC Black was difficult to watch this season just because it just was unfortunate where they ended up. But I think they made the most of it, and while it's definitely a little bit of a tough love first season, I think once they get seated properly in the position they belong in, they're going to have fantastic time in their place. So moving on to my Paper Play Award. You can't have a Krona naming anything without a musical reference. So I've dubbed mine the Through the Fire and Flames Award, with the kind of category being which team had the most nail-biting / chaotic regular season run. So I want to start off with you, Snow. Who'd you put for this one?
I feel like the team name I chose, their name is just so fitting. I got to go with the Red Embers from Illinois State. And mainly because for the reasons we already mentioned. How do you go 2-3 and make playoffs? That's just crazy. They had to go through so many tiebreakers to get there. I told Krona, it's in your hands. You just have to make the most of your opportunity, and they did in an exciting Game 7 fashion. So that's why I think they're my nomination for this.
Sorry, I'm just laughing. That was the first time it's ever tripped me up with the double Krona in the league.
yeah, it's true.
I'm like, what? You didn't tell me that. What?
Well, Snow, I am right there with you. If I could, I would say just all of Division 2. Yeah. That was the chaotic regular season. And of course, Division 2 Group 2, which is just infamous every season for being an absolute mess. It's always one group in Division 2. But I will agree, if I have to pick a specific team, it's Red Embers. Because, again, you can't replicate that type of season. From just having, if we have to make a spreadsheet that is like 30 lines long to break down the playoff scenarios, and you go from the team with the most scenarios to make the playoffs to the team with the least scenarios to the team that actually somehow makes it out of the group when you had the least control in your hands, that is by far the most chaotic finish, especially because they had to play 2 sets during reschedule week as well. So it's not a contest here. I think that there was a couple honorable mentions with California and Long Beach Gold having a lot of these Game 7s. And I think California Rolls had to play 3 sets in the last 2 weeks or something like that. So a couple of honorable mentions, but Red Embers by a mile.
Fair enough. I think I had similar to how you kind of made this award for one specific team, DRF. I kind of made this for one I had in mind initially. That being Ink Ravers Bravo. I had Hoken do some work for me. We love Hoken, the stats person here on the back end. And because I had this suspicion, and it was confirmed when I found out that Ink Raider Bravo has played the most regular season matches, playing 31 games in the regular season. And how many normal games were in the regular season, you asked? 35. They played 3 Game 7s, winning 2 of them, and then played a Game 6, where I believe they lost that one. God, what an absolute nail-biting chaotic season for them to be such on this edge of success and failure here. Unfortunately, they did lose to the top seed, which then booted them from playoffs, I believe in week 4 or 5. But regardless, it's been such an exhilarating season for them. And there's so many kind of elements they can take away from it. So, yes, that's who my award is going to Ink Raiders Bravo. And we lost DRF. And he's back.
He's back. I guess so I guess when you're playing against Ink Raiders Bravo, you don't even need to ask if they want to play all 7. It's just going to happen anyway.
With such sportsmen, just already sending them to Game 7.
Hey, that's honestly a compliment. Because the only Game 7 they lost was their first one, so they're 2-for-1 on Game 7s. That's in their favor.
Pretty good.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I'm gonna change my award from the name. I'm changing the name that I gave it. We're calling it the I Took That Personally award. We're evoking Michael Jordan here. What teams do you guys think got snubbed this season? Whether they were underseeded or they lost early or anything like that. And they're going to come out swinging next season because they have something to prove. Let's start with you, Krona.
Springfield, Ohio. I think Springfield, Ohio had unfortunate. I think they underestimated Cal State Long Beach, and being booted to second seed in their group was really unfortunate, having to face Carney round 1. I think they've been this perpetual. They've been a constant team here in the CCA, and I think that they're going to see this result and not be satisfied and come back swinging. Honorable mentions for me would go to Sun God Squad. Unfortunate that they lost that game against Table Trepay there, but I think they're gonna take it with a grain of salt and really grind for it. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention WPI's second team, the Grisco Union Busters, who unfortunately lost to PSU week 1 that cost them a playoff run, and they've just grown so much throughout the season. And I think they're not satisfied with that PSU loss, in that they're going to come back swinging next season.
That's a great answer. DRF, do you have any suggestions?
Oh, man. This is a tough one. My first instinct, and I think there's a couple of good choices here. So my mind's gone a couple different directions. One being Vespa Enter Salmon. I think that they just had a lot of expectations, and to go out in the quarterfinals, they're coming back next season with some vengeance. I think that's the first team that came to mind, but the team that I'm ultimately going to give this award to is the California Rollers in Division 2. We have not talked about them much in this entire podcast because there's so many teams, but the California Rollers, they, first of all, kind of almost pulled off a Florida Gulf Coast where we were like, hey, that's a lot of reschedules you have there. And they had to play like 3 matches in 2 weeks at the end of the season. And it came down to California Rollers versus Carne Soda Fries. They had the win to get into the playoffs. Carne Soda Fries was pretty much already set in the playoffs, and Carne Soda Fries dashed their hopes in Game 7, crushed them. And that's going to hurt, because especially when you have a newly tooled roster coming out of UC Berkeley, which again, people more so know as Squids at Cal. But you bring in a couple of really good players like Chino, like the expectations were high for this team, and to come up short in the group of death that ended up being Group 2. They're going to come back next season. I think if they were in any other group, they steal that second seed easily. And I'm really excited to see what this team can do. I pitched them for Division 1 when we were seeding during the preseason. And to see them in Division 2 ultimately come up a little bit short. They have a massive chip on their shoulder. They're going to come back.
Yeah, no. I forgot you haven't said yours yet. Go ahead.
Right. So yeah, I that's also a really good option. I think like they were in that Div 2 group of death, so this it's kind of unfortunate. I want to say I also, just like you two, I also chose a Div 2 team. I think there's a common trend there. I think when you're in Div 2, you're one one stage short from the top of the league. I feel like all the teams here are going to be naturally more inclined to feel hungry, to want that top spot. So, without further ado, I also think Springfield, Ohio has the biggest chip on their shoulder. Again, they're obviously a very strong team, and they were my favorite to win Div 2. But I mean, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe they took it a bit too easy against CSU LB, but the point stands. I feel like this win was not, or not this result was not what they were hoping for. It's not what they were satisfied with. So I feel like they're going to come back with a vengeance next season.
Yeah, no, I think all of our answers here are fantastic picks. I think there's so many teams that aren't fully satisfied with where they ended up here in the league, and that they'll be grinding this off season and be back in full swing next season. So, whew, okay, Jesus. You know, I should have probably been more wary of putting 2 podcast episodes together in the production on this, but it's all right. So we have gotten through all of the prelude, and I'm sure all of you are still here wondering one thing: who made the all division teams? So, without further ado, I think it's time we actually discuss that and get into announcing the winners. Or not the winners, my god. The teams. Sorry.
And winners.
Honestly, that. So, I'm going to share my screen now with the PowerPoint. There we go. We are going in reverse order, so we will be starting here with Division 6. And I'm just going to wait to make sure it is viewable on Twitch, which it is, and I'm going to start. So, DRF, take it away.
Absolutely, your all Division 6 team for Season 4. Oh no, we are spoiling things. Oh no, hit the back button.
What is happening? What is happening? Guys. All right,
I blame Frosty for sending me in a PowerPoint.
All right.
Okay. Christ. Oh my god.
Take it from the top.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. Why is it auto playing? What is going on? What's happened? 1 second, please. 1 second, please.
If you saw anything, no, you didn't.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
I think I. Oh my god, why is it doing this? Okay. Let me think of a quick solution to this. You know what? We're just gonna do this because I know this works. We're gonna not share in the PowerPoint. We're just going to. Oh all right. Now I have full control over this. This isn't gonna happen again. I promise. All right. All right. DRF, would you like to take it away now?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and congratulate our all Division 6 team. Starting off with. There we go. We have Bepsi out of the Grisco Gators from the University of Florida. Bepsi had such a phenomenal season. Definitely towards the top of, I believe, a number of different KA metrics. I believe they actually led the division in their KAD ratio at 3.73, which nobody was even close to that. The next closest person to that was Zilliant. And Zilliant was at 3.28, which is still phenomenal. Zilliant coming out of DPU Anarcho-Ciliism. And then to round out our all-Div 6 team, Floofy Pup from Sun God Squad out of UC San Diego had an efficient season, finishing in the top 5 in adjusted KA per 5 minutes. I believe at 16.06 KA per 5 minutes. Very, very efficient. And consistently towards the top on a lot of painting metrics. I mean, that wiper is certainly going to come in handy as well. And lastly, we have Sneaky, who is consistently up at that top in the KA department with both Bepsi and Zilliant. A really well-rounded team here from a number of different teams. Sneaky coming from the Tabletop Troop as well. So that is your all Div 6 team as decided by your fellow peers and competitors, staff, and production.
So let's move on to 5, if I can There we go. Okay. Division 5 All-Star team is comprised of Kai from Towson Tigerfish, including their actual teammate Cole Bolton as well. You also have Alto from Champlain Splatoon Cerulean and Alter from UNM Splatoon. A fantastic roster of people here with some amazing talents, and they push their teams very far. All of these teams being playoff teams from Division 5, including the runner-up, a member from the runner-up team, a runner from the champions, and a two from Towson University. So an absolute great roster of people, great lineup of players from Division 5 who have really left a mark on their teams and their division this season. I believe it is Snow. Would you like to do Division 4?
I would love to do Division 4. So let's introduce our all div 4 team. Yes. First of all, we have Fox from I believe it's VCU Gummies. I believe they're a backline. I don't have all the stats like DRF, but I believe they're a backline, and I think they just had they had like absurd skills. Even some of our staff members in the call when we were deciding this said this person could have been a Div 1 player. So obviously they're a very, very worthy member. We got S2 Shoes. What team were they from? They were from STU. They're from Purdue. Yeah, I remember looking at them. They're like, is this CD Woomi's Air? They're a Carbon One Trick who just was a very strong Slayer, which is fitting since considering Purdue and UCSD is like the old guards of the CCA. All right, next up we have Ocean Opal from UCSD Esports Navy. I remember looking at their stats, and they just thought they were very versatile Slayer support flex, or Slayer support in general, being top 10% in the league in kills, assists, paint, and specials. So they're just contributing on all fronts there. And finally, we have PKCJ from the division winners, Seminole Cephalopods. Garnet. I think it's only fitting that we should have a player from that team on the All Div team, and they backed it up with their stats as just like Ocean Opal, they were just very strong, leading the division in kills, assists, paint, and specials.
Yes, a fantastic lineup of Division 4 players. You see a lot of old guard and established programs, Purdue, UCSD, VCU, but also several cephalopods Granite, and capping off their amazing run they've had this season. And now it's my time to give you the Division 3 one. Starting off, we have Space Seals from Griffink, from William and Mary, an absolutely goated V-Shot and Tenatech player, who's very much one of the keystone players there for William and Mary, having an absolute amazing season, being top of the leaderboard for many of their respective stats. You then have McDonald Lover from Golden Barracudas, being honestly one of the greatest support players we have in Division 3. Absolutely going crazy with the cooler weapons and bringing a lot of usefulness and prestige to the Golden Barracudas. Can I get a Creamer Nation in the chat? Because then we have Drywall from Creamed Corn, picking up, clearly learning a few things from Vapor and playing mainly X-Blow. We love one tricks. Drywall has been a fantastic player this season, leading their teams to many victories and pushing Creamed Corn to Division 3 playoffs. Finally, we have Slug from the GMU Patriots, being one of their support players and an absolute GOAT when it comes to the junior. Slug has been a wonderful asset for GMU and has led to a lot of their great success and developments this season. This is an absolutely killer lineup of many fantastic players from Division 3, all of which are going to go to many places beyond. So that is your Division 3 All-Star team, or All-Division team. Snow, can I pass it back to you for Division 2?
No,
Yes.
you can pass it back to me, though.
Oh, no!
Well, you're all Div 2 team. I'm going to go ahead and go through Tails out of CSU LB Gold is going to be your first person. They are very consistently towards the top of KAD ratios. I believe they were number 2 overall in the league. No, number 3 at 2.73. But you know who was number 2 was out of Carnegie Soda Fries, San Diego State University. Number 2, they were at 2.93. Brandon from Middle Tennessee State University's Ink Raiders Alpha, a phenomenal player who kind of came in, and we were shocked to see beat Starburst in a Nintendo tournament, and we're like, hold on. So yeah, very phenomenal player, definitely delivered this season in the games that they played in. And then lastly, we have Magic from the winning squad, Coastal Squid Surf, making your all Div 2 team. Magic kind of just did it all. Very, very efficient. In terms of the adjusted to 5 minutes, they were pretty consistently at the top of the leaderboards for KAs, assists, for I believe special output as well. No, sorry, not as much special output, but definitely one of the most efficient Slayers that was in this division, and it really wasn't close after that. So, but with that, so we did not think this was going to take 3 hours. I'm going to pass this back off to Snow, but I'm going to go ahead and get going because I'm late for tutoring. So, thank you, folks. Snow, carry it away with the all Div 1 team. Have a wonderful night, folks.
Yes. Oh my God. Go ahead, Snow.
I will. Oh, I'm so excited for all Div 1. So, I think so. Start off with Riki coming out of MSU Aries. They were primarily playing Squeezer, as I remember, and they just had absurd stats. I don't have the stats pulled up. I think their KAD was 4, so they were contributing a lot to every single match they played. And I'm speaking from a personal perspective. On PSU, we were all pretty scared of them. All right, next up, Tarao, coming out of that is Red Embers from Illinois State. They were a very strong backline player, pulling out the leader at times and also playing a lot of pencil as well. Yeah, so they were just always there, applying tons of pressure. As I remember in the Div 1 semis, I think they went 17-1 in game 1. So very strong player, very deserving of it. Here third we have a PSU Kraken from Penn State. A brush player. I think everyone knows who this guy is. Just always there wreaking havoc on the enemy. And I want to mention one thing about Kraken is he is the only player to be on the all Div 1 team for all 3 seasons that it has existed. So congratulations to Kraken Mayor for that accomplishment. And lastly, we have Toto Star from VCU Ink Black. I remember when we were in the call looking at this one, and initially I think we discounted oh my god, this person their KD is negative. How come there's no chance? But they we looked at their weapons oh, it's an NZAP. They're just feeding their teams cooler. And that's what Toto Star was. They were just an aggro support, getting their teams coolers, getting paint, and getting assists. They did that job very perfectly, so they deserve their position on the all Div 1 team.
Yes. Oof. There's all the 6 teams for this season. I know Frosty will be working on getting full graphics with the winners Inkling / Octoling and their some stats that support their position here out within the next week or 2, probably 3. But those are the names that will appear for this season. It's been a fantastic season, some great players, and we always welcome the opportunity to reward such players. All right, so good news for everyone. That was our last planned discussion point. This has been an absolute behemoth of an episode. I think we flew a little bit too close to the sun in part of it. However, I'm excited that so many people here have stuck around for a little bit, and have enjoyed the conversations that have occurred. So in closing, as DRF mentioned earlier, CCA is going on hiatus at least till the new year. We will look for announcements from us for upcoming events. We can't promise anything. We'll see where discussions lead and what staff has capacity for. As for the podcast specifically, this does conclude our coverage of CCA League Season 4. It's been an absolute joy to host all these episodes, and I'm so glad you all could tune in and learn from some of the unique storylines and discussions that have occurred. I want to give a huge thanks to DRF, Omazen, Mizuno, and Snow for all their lovely support in making these episodes. This really could not have been done without all of you, especially DRF and Omazen, who have put so much work and hours into this project, as have I. So I also like to thank all of you for tuning in every week. I'm very glad this show found its audience and that people have been wanting it and have been encouraged its growth and place here in the CCA. We do plan on continuing the podcast production in the off season, i.e. times when CCA League isn't active, and we will be hoping to cover a lot of topics that we just didn't have time for or didn't fit into our normal season coverage. We are still kind of in discussions on what these episodes will look like, but we do know that they will come at a less frequent rate. So as previously mentioned, we're not probably going to touch this till the new year, but definitely look for maybe an episode or two come January, February. So please look out for any future updates. So, no, thank you so much for sitting through this absolutely insane episode. We've covered so much, and it's been wonderful to have your voice, but it is time for us to leave. And before we do so, I just want to ask, where can the good audience here find you?
Can I say, I'm so happy it's over. Don't try to find me.
Was that to me specifically for dragging you onto this podcast episode, or just the audience?
Yes.
Fair enough. You can find me on Twitter at comrade_Krona. You can also find me here on Discord, Comrade Krona, whatever. Bother me if you want. I love talking about CCA, and I love the collegiate community. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a fantastic season, and it's been wonderful for these episodes. So see you, everyone.